when we're talking about advocacy and when we're talking about history making and legacy, I'm honored to be able to have, Robert Chealsea, who was the first African American um, to have a full face transplant, um, history in the making for scientific advancement, but also just to learn from an inspirational human who has a lived experience that can really inspire us all. So I'm very excited to bring to the stage, the virtual stage, TianEn, who will be moderating this important discussion. And we're going to bring Robert. Once I find Robert.
How are you doing today, Lisa?
I'm doing really well. It's been a very long day. Um, that I had to deliver on a workshop this morning for another company, GitHub. First thing in the morning, super interactive,
Right.
super taxing, and then dive right into here. So it's been an experience for sure.
Oh yeah, and I know that everyone's getting some nuggets and getting some gems from all of this. So keep on doing the great work.
Thank you, thank you. Uh, I don't see Robert was just in here, so maybe he accidentally fell out, so I'll wait for him to dive in because technically it's at noon, so maybe he went to do something. But TianEn, I met you on LinkedIn. We were having a conversation earlier of all the people who've connected on LinkedIn and LinkedIn as a multiplier.
Right. Yeah. LinkedIn definitely has been a great platform to get like minds together and make new relationships, just like you and me.
Yeah. And those of you don't know, but TianEn is also a new, well, not a new mom, but a newish mom again with a newborn. How are your boys doing today?
They're doing good. I'm so happy they're back in school. They had a little cold last week and now we're back to our normal routine. So very happy about that. Get a quiet house. I'll take that. Thank you, Alicia. So yeah, so I just had my fourth son. So that's what Lisa was talking about. And the youngest, he's 5 months, not 5 months, 5 weeks old.
5 weeks. That's different. That's 5 weeks and 5 months are different. I mean, I'm not a mom. I'm an oldest sister of six. Um, but I have to imagine. I'm just gonna indulge me for a moment while we wait for Robert. Like as we're talking about Black legacy and celebration and impact, as a mother, like how important do you think these kinds of conversations and experiences are? And does that kind of stir at your heartstrings when you think about the future world that your children are going to inherit?
Yeah, these type of conversations are very important because if we don't know where we're coming from and our history and the perseverance and just those life lessons, it makes our future a lot harder. And if we have this knowledge and wisdom, we can make quicker decisions, better decisions, be our ancestors' wildest dreams, and be able to be successful and create that generational wealth, create that generational success and what good looks like. So yes, I'm all about these type of conversations because you see a light bulb go off on the kids. They start to be intrigued and more curious, and it really brightens my heart to see those interesting moments with the kids, those aha moments.
Yeah, those aha moments. And those are the defining moments, those aha moments.
Yes, and I see Robert has joined us too. So let's see if he can get some audio and video.
Hi, Robert. Thank you for joining us today. Are you there?
Robert, we can't hear you if you're trying to talk.
We have to love technology.
Yeah, when we want it to work, it don't want to work.
Oh, I was supposed to. I got warm, so I did this. Okay, that's better. Okay.
Perfect. I will let you guys enjoy and take over the conversation.
Oh, okay. You're gonna join us, huh?
No,
Oh,
I'm listening in. Absolutely. I'm gonna watch.
okay. Good. Yeah,
Hi, Robert. How are you doing today?
good. How do you pronounce your name?
Yes, my name is TianEn Stephenson.
Oh, TianEn. T TianEn. T well,
Yes.
I have a new face and another set of lips, but they still don't want to cooperate with me the way I'd like for them to. So please forgive me if I'm not able to articulate it as I would like to.
Yeah, no worries. So I appreciate you joining us, and I really found this conversation very interesting because you are the first African American man to receive a full face transplant. And so I really would love for you to just jump in, tell us about your story. How did this all transpire?
Oh, well, okay. 2013, I was on you mentioned you're in this area, the 605 freeway, around 10 o'clock at night heading home. And my car overheated, so I pulled to the shoulder of the freeway. And wasn't too long after that a drunk driver swerved across a few lanes and drove right onto the shoulder, and he ran straight into me. My car went up in the air, and then when it came down, a few seconds later, it blew up.
Wow. And and that caused some severe burning, right? Um,
Yeah, yes. As a matter of fact, a good Samaritan came. His name is Richard Robles. He lives in Lake Elsinore area. And he happened to be there. He got out of his car and he assisted me in getting out of at that time, of course, the car was burning. And he said he tried to take my arm, but my arm was melting. So he had to put a
wow.
belt buckle around and gently escort me out as we checked on the driver to see, if he was okay and he had not been harmed. So when the ambulance came, I was still conscious and I told them who I was and who to call. And I had no idea I was so severely burned at the time. As a result of that, once I got that information, I just figured I would be picked up from the hospital and taken home. As it turns out, when I laid down on the gurney, I didn't wake up until 6 months later.
Wow, 6 months.
Yeah.
Um, so what happened with the recovery? Were you able to recover during those 6 months, physically? And how did that
Well,
work
I
out
was
for
in a
you?
coma. I was in a coma all that time. I was in the hospital another close to a year after that, about a year and a half all total. Right there at, well, I was at several hospitals, but
Mhm.
they first sent me to UCI in Irvine. That burn center dealt with me for about 4 months from August to December. And I still had not awakened, and they had done all they could in terms of grafts and so on. And of course, they didn't expect me to live since I didn't wake up out of the coma, and my all my vitals they weren't working that well. So that's why I ended up staying in the hospital another year. You know, I was in long-term hospitals, and uh, I was at UCI twice. I had amputations, and my recovery from the burns for about 3 to 4 years. My,
Okay. And
Yeah.
then from the time you know, woke up at the hospital to the time that you end up having the actual face transplant, how long was that process for you? Because I would imagine to find a full face, that would be quite extensive as finding, you know, trying to find a match.
Yeah, the great, the it seems that the transplant is the attention getter, but I try to emphasize all the time that individuals are burned.
Mm-hmm.
See, you are mangled, and uh, that's really a challenge for a great number of individuals. They're not as fortunate to even have a face transplant. What you see on this end, if you look below the rest of my body, then it's a burned person's body. And my hands, as a matter of fact, are cadaver skin. They had to put this on right after I got in the hospital, and of course fluids come out and so on, and so they had to cover it up. This is far more, in my opinion, more uh, um, worth addressing than the end result, in my case, happens to be a face transplant. But there's a process that the disabled diaspora goes through. And my objective is to make sure, at least if God allows, to bring awareness to burn survivors, amputees, as well as transplant recipients. So, but it took about 3.5, 4 years for me to recover from the face transplant. And after uh, after that, I came back into LA. I was staying with my sister in Victorville, which was better for me anyway, you know, because people have been too many uh, visits and friends and all that. So I stayed out there for 3.5, 4 months, 4 years rather, and God willing, uh, he, I, I, I learned so much about how I could learn more about his ways and be patient during that period of time than I ever was before. And so I'm ever so grateful that my experience happened to be one that I am glad to testify of. One of the reasons, I mean, you know, you look at a person and say, oh my God, you were burned and you're this and you're that. But there was a joy that that was unspeakable, undescribable. God carried me through in such a way that is the main story. This mud hut and what I've gone through is notable, but it's nothing close to what I've been exposed to in terms of God carrying and comforting me through this.
So that leads me to Lisa's question. I see Lisa put a question in the chat. So along the lines of the joy and pushing through all of this, what were some of the things that help you keep pushing forward mentally and emotionally while dealing with the trauma and then the multiple medical procedures?
Yeah, there was a lot of medical. There was at least 30 before in the first 6 months.
Wow.
But I could tell you a lot of things, but in a nutshell, I don't know if you've ever been in the ocean or the sea and you've seen all these different beautiful animals and
Mm-hmm.
fish and plant life and so on. But we do know that beneath the seas there is at least a great deal of other plant life and fish that we have not been able to visually see. Well, I have to liken it to having an opportunity to see this for myself, because the dimension that he provided for me was much greater than I could have ever. Individuals all the time, oh, we're praying that you have full recovery. Oh, you're the bomb. Oh, you are so strong in your faith, and you this, you that. But there was no, I wasn't. What could I do? What in the world could I attribute my recovery except for our Heavenly Father? And if I was healthy, what would I be able to do? What could the doctor do? So it's nice to think, well, you were tenacious and you were strong-willed, and that how long can you be strong-willed? How long can you have faith?
Right.
How long can you love or trust and believe? See? But God is such a perfect gentleman. He just doesn't leave you and drop you off, but he takes you to a 7-course meal, feeds you if you need to be fed, escort you home and lay you in a bed, put lilies all around you, cover you up, and then give you a good night kiss. And that's the comfort. That's what I attribute my growth and my recovery. Nothing I could do. I wouldn't know what to do. Not only that, but why would I want to recover when I have experienced such a joy that I had yet to ever experience before? So for me, I prefer to enjoy the ride. When you were sent down, Daniel was thrown in the lion's den. Now he could have tightened up and he could have curled up and he could have shaken in his boots. But when God allows you to go in places like that, uh, it, why would I want to then try to grab to get out of it? I'm going against what he sent you in there. And now you're going, oh, I got to get out of here. I can't. This is not, I don't like it. It's not, no. I, he's shown me so much in what I would call a valley experience that I just want to continue. I want to learn and see and experience every corner of this journey that I have. It's been too good for me to want to go back to the old Rocket Chealsea, whatever that might have been.
And I love the fact that you have such a positive outlook on this situation and that you're, becoming your own testimony through all of this. So what would you say you can share with others around this journey? You've been able to turn this into something very positive. What are some of the other positive outtakes or outcomes that have come from this?
Well, I understand what you're asking, but I didn't turn anything around. It was introduced to me, and I was glad to go through it. I couldn't. However, during I think it was about my 8th or 9th month in the hospital, I began to seek, question our Heavenly Father. My lips were burned off, and part of my tongue also. And so, I looked like a Halloween mask. Anyway, I asked, how do you want me to share your wonderful word? I mean, my lips are burned off. Certainly can't. I never could sing anyway. And so how is it, since you allowed these things to happen? I know you could have let the car swerve around and I would have rejoiced, but he decided to let me go in. And I'm so glad he did. but how do I go about sharing your word now? And he, within seconds, fortunately for me, I got a verbal response while I was in the hospital. And the response was one word. That word was kindness. Kindness. And I realized then that although I might have been considered, a reasonably nice guy and all that, it wasn't that kind of kindness that God is looking for. He wants a holy people, not a nice guy, a nice group of people. He wants holy, godly people. And I had not attained, I had not reached, I had not even realized that there is a way that seems right to a man, and it's a standard that man might have. But I think it was Isaiah that said, there's a way and then there's a highway. So it has been such a enlightening experience that I can't help but desire to perfect his kindness. Not, I mean, we all can, oh, I'll be kind to this, I'll be nice here, I'll do. No, he wants us to be a kind person, period. Not be kind sometimes, act kind, behavior. No, he's looking for holy people, and I'm glad that he allowed me to be exposed to this so that my life will not be. I was listening to your one of your broadcasts earlier this morning uh, about legacies, but what greater legacy can I have than to please our Heavenly Father? Or what greater legacy can you have than your children, your newborn, than for them to please you?
Right, right. All right, so going back to the whole process of, of the transplant. So how would you say the process was for you? How did the process happen?
Yeah,
What was the selection process, especially since you were the very first
yeah,
of its kind?
yeah. When I came out of when I was recovering in Victorville, uh, we decided to have Kaiser Permanente be my primary uh, hospital. And after going through so many different plastic surgeons and dermatologists and infectious disease, just all kind, uh, Dr. Walter Chang happened to know a friend who had studied under my uh, transplant surgeon. And so they contacted my transplant surgeon, his name was uh, uh, Bowden Tomahawk, and and Bowden contacted me. He's out of Harvard University. At the time, it was Harvard University's hospital called Brigham Women's Hospital. Now he's at Yale. So that's how the hookup came around 2015 or 16. And we had quite a few discussions back and forth. I went back there several times, and their questions, of course, were a little different than I was expecting, but by them not knowing anything about Black people, the questions were quite intense. You know, see, their cutoff for having a face transplant was 50 years old, and I was already 63, 64 years old.
Okay. And then once they asked through all these questions, and I'm assuming some testing to make
Oh,
sure
yeah.
it was the right fit, how long was the surgery?
The surgery was it was 16 hours. There was about 45 different surgeons involved. What they have to do basically is they strip my face and they strip the donor's face. One team, as they strip my face, then a team travels to the donor's destination. While they're traveling, the donor's face is being stripped by another surgical team. And it happens to be out of the state, by the way. This happened to be that way. So so the team that traveled, of course, it procures the face or whatever they need, bring it back, and then of course the surgery has to start within a 3-hour period.
Okay, and then how did it feel when you first looked at your new face? Did you have a sense of confusion or a sense of joy? Just what were some of the feelings you felt when you first saw your new face?
I I I was glad that that process was over. You might believe this or not, but I was pretty comfortable with my face, even though it was all burned. You know, the reason I had the transplant is it's very difficult for me to eat, and I should have brought this. I could have the show you. I have a syringe. It's a long syringe where that's how I fed myself, and that's how I had to drink too. So when I ate, I was eating like this, like an alligator, just, and so just to have some degree of normalcy when it came to eating and drinking was one of the reasons. And another very important reason for me was I wanted to kiss my daughter's cheeks, and I couldn't, you know.
All right. And I know we're coming close to the end of our time. What message would you want to leave with our audience around your journey?
Well, there's several messages. One in particular, remember, because I am the first, I'm not just the first Black, but I'm the oldest also in the world. And if we don't get involved in becoming donors, I wouldn't have this face. And I would think that there's so many across this world that have been burned or injured in one way or another, electrocuted, etc. I've met so many that's been in so many different conditions. And as a result of that, if we could just replace stem cells, that can cure some of the sickle cell patients. Bone marrow replacement. One eye can replace 8 eyes.
Wow.
So in our community, we have a great deal of, well, kidneys is the greatest challenge for individuals, and we are we're 35% of that population, and yet we're only 13% in the country. So it's essential that we strongly consider becoming donors and hopefully an active advocate for becoming a transplant donor. The difference with me and a transplant, a heart recipient, or lung, liver, kidney, etc., they you're taking one out and you're putting another in. So you wouldn't even know it. With the face, of course, I could show this to you right here, and now you can see, it's a big difference there. So it is important, and not only that, but all the records are looking at, it's all based on someone that is white. And so what they look for in terms of what's called a rejection, they're looking for a pink face, red face, pale face, blue lips,
Yeah.
white knuckles. So that none of that applies to me. If we're not in the game, if our physicians and scientists and researchers, if they are not looking into this or not able to participate, then that's a lot less of a incentive for anyone to participate in becoming a donor. We need individuals to become donors.
So appreciate the message and your phenomenal journey. You definitely get my praise and appreciation for sharing that story. Could you give out your website and other ways that this group can stay in contact with you?
Of course, my name is Robert Chealsea, so they can Google me. I'm also in the New England Journal. They have me there, and Wittipiki and all those places. We have a foundation called Robert Chealsea Foundation, and the website is robertchealsea.org. So you can contact and one thing that I try to do especially when I visit a school or a civic organization, I try to wear loose clothing, and I show them my legs, especially in schools. I want the kids to consider being a little more empathetic to their peers, because they'll tease a child that doesn't look or run or talk or jump like they do. And you don't know, they could have been electrocuted. They could have had a birth defect, a house fire, barbecue fire. So I try to make sure that I go and see at least a couple of schools, wherever it is, and that way uh, they can have some degree of exposure to people can be normal and yet they may not look that way. So anyway, that's one of the things that we try to do. We call it a show and tell. I don't know if you had that in school, but I did when I was a child. Of course, that was 100 years ago. Yeah.
All right. So thank you, Robert, and appreciate your time. I'm going to hand it off back to Lisa for the next segment.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Thank you. I'm glad those are good questions you asked, and I appreciate them.
yeah, and
Thank
if
you.
anybody has any questions or want to just give Robert his flowers, feel free to utilize the chat function. Robert, I know, thank you, TianEn, for moderating the discussion. Robert, thank you so much for your transparency and your grace and, just sharing your story. It's not, I think most of us, I don't think we can even fathom how to move through such an experience without that kind of grace that you were talking about, that love, that joy. I mean, I'm sitting there listening and I'm like, I had a very bad weekend, okay? Nothing like anything that you've ever experienced, and I could not find my joy. And here you are reminding me that there's something rich and something beautiful. I mean, when you talked about the ocean and its depths and all of the beauty that's underneath the surface, I mean, it really inspired me to just like go deeper inside of myself to extract like greater joy, greater strength, and also just greater compassion for my lived experience. So thank you so much for being here.
Can I add something real quick, Lisa?
Absolutely.
Okay. Don't cut me off or be disappointed or hate me from now on. But you're you can dig as deep as you want to inside you, and you're still not going to find the joy and satisfaction that God can provide. See, we don't have it in us unless God escorts us through this.
Yes.
The
Being
old
taken to
saying,
church.
let go and let God, that that's ultimately, if I can make that suggestion, that's the best thing that any person can do. See? And you may not know how to, it's whether or not you want to.
Yes.
And if you are able to do it, go ahead and dig as much as you want. What are you going to find? More of the same.
You're not wrong. Lean not into your own understanding.
That's absolutely right.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the reminder, Robert. I know there's people that have shared their gratitude for you sharing your story. I'd love to reconnect. Definitely going to continue to share your story and talk about the importance of organ donation. Thank you so much for showing up. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I appreciate all of you guys joining us for this Black Legacy celebration. Much gratitude to all of you.
Thank you.